Hi, my name is Jessie. Welcome to the second episode of my Let's Collaborate podcast. Today I am joined by Cherianne, who is head of regulations and governance. So, Cherianne, tell me a bit about yourself.
It's lovely to meet you, Jessie. As you said, I'm Cherianne. I'm head of regulation and governance. I've worked for Lifeways for 21 years. I started as a sessional support worker and I'm worked my way into several different roles, and I'm here today. I live in Leicestershire. I'm an avid Leicester City supporter, much to a lot of people's dismay. And I live at home with my husband and my dog, Herbie.
Tell me something most people don't know about you.
One thing that I think most people don't know about me is when I was at primary school, so I was probably my year 5, 6, I was actually selected to go on a children's TV show called Around the World in 80 Seconds that was hosted by Timmy Mallet and Wolf from the Gladiators. It was on Sky. We won for the school. We did two shows and we won both of them. So I don't think a lot of people know that about me.
When was the last time you laughed at something funny?
Just when we were talking about things and reminiscing, we were having a laugh. But other than that, it was probably one of my nieces sending me a funny video before she went on holiday this morning.
What do you do to relax?
So I really enjoy going for walks with Herbie, so taking him on long walks, but also reading. Reading is something that I really enjoy doing, and I like to sit down, read a book, and it's a bit of escapism for me from just to help me to relax.
So, Cherianne, tell us a little bit about your job role.
Okay, so I'm head of regulation and governance, and that looks at all things governance and compliance within the organisation. So I manage a team of auditors that go across the organisation and they check the quality and service delivery of the support that we deliver. I also support in making sure that we have governance processes in place, and governance processes are checks. So we're making sure that people are checking that things are being done effectively and correctly to make sure that people are safe and are supported safely. In terms of regulation, the regulation element of my role is we work with 3 regulators across the UK, so England, Scotland and Wales, and they check their external regulations that check to make sure that we are doing a good job and we're doing what we should be doing. And I support with making sure that people are aware of what those regulations are, what the changes are, and making sure that we can support with positive inspection outcomes.
Tell us about your journey from your first day in health and social care and to now as head of regulations and governance.
Okay, well, it's been quite a journey. So I started with Lifeways 21 years ago as a sessional support worker, and I commenced that role during a placement when I was at university. And then I stayed really. So I was a sessional support worker. I then became a team leader, a service manager. I then decided to join the quality team and I became a quality auditor. And then I've progressed now to being head of regulation and governance in the quality function.
I understand you have a long career with Lifeways. What has kept you here for so long?
I enjoy the people that I work with. And the goal of what Lifeways want to achieve, I feel very passionate that the values are the same as my own, and to make sure that people do live good quality lives and are cared for how they should be. And I think it's really valuable to kind of have that longevity to see something from the beginning to the end, really. And I enjoy that path and that journey that we're taking at the moment. There's been a lot of changes in that 21 years that I've worked for Lifeways. There's been a lot, and these last sort of 24 months have really transformed the way that health and social care and putting sort of people we support at the forefront of everything we do, and I'm very passionate about that. So that's kind of what's kept me here.
What are the biggest regulatory changes that the organisation has faced?
Well, there's been quite a few. So as I say, we work across 3 regulators. one of the biggest changes more recently is that the regulators themselves have changed the way that they work. So the regulator in England a couple of years ago decided that they would change their entire framework of how they regulate. So that impacted massively on health and social care providers because they needed to change and adapt to how the regulators were to make sure that we were in line with what they wanted from us. More recently, it's been established that that's not quite working very well for the regulators. So they're also going to make another change, and we're just waiting to see what that change is really and how that impacts us as an organisation and what changes we need to make to adapt to make sure that, you know, we are adhering to their new regulatory processes. So yeah, we need to keep up to date with things and make sure that people are aware of those changes, especially the registered managers, because they're the most important components of that, because it's their roles and responsibilities as a registered manager to ensure that they are adhering to their regulations.
So, I've got a question.
Yeah.
What exactly is a registered manager?
So a registered manager is a manager that, there's lots of different registrations within the organisation. So each service that we provide falls under a registration, and that registration is what CQC inspects, say whether they think it's outstanding, it's good, it requires improvement, or it's inadequate. Now, a registered manager's role is they have the legal responsibility to make sure that they ensure that their service is safe and of a good standard. So a registered manager is registered with CQC, and it's their name above the door. Have you ever heard that phrase on like a pub landlord? It's their name above the door. That's a similar thing with a registered manager. It's their name on the registration, and they hold the responsibility with CQC to make sure that they are compliant with their regulations to make sure that people are safe.
Thank you for answering that question.
You're very welcome.
What habits have helped you stay ahead of regulatory changes?
It's really important to make sure that you, with all the regulators, you can select to have email alerts. So the regulators will then email when changes happen. So I'll read through those. I'll pass on any information that I need to the relevant people that it needs to be passed on to. Also attending webinars. So there's webinars that a lot of the regulators will hold, so that you can attend those to see what changes are being made. Reading is quite a big part of it. So reading their websites and their updates and all of those things that come out in the news bulletins, and following them on places like Facebook and LinkedIn, because they tend to put out news information there as well.
How are these changes communicated by the people we support?
The changes to the regulations. Okay, so obviously when there's any major changes that take place, so if we take the example of the recent regulatory change that CQC made, they also brought out an easy read version and a standard version of that would make it easier for people to understand and more accessible. So what we do is we would send that out to the registered managers, because obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it's their responsibility to make sure that their registration is compliant, and they will then pass that information down to people we support that want to know that information. If there's any sort of changes that we need to make organisationally, then it will go to somewhere now like Leap and the forums and things, our voice forums, so that people are aware of what those changes are and how they're going to impact the organisation.
Thank you. Do you feel like we could do better with communicating these changes?
I think communication is a vital tool that we need to utilise to make sure that everybody's aware. I think it generally depends, if I'm honest. I think if you don't feel that you're getting the information that you feel that you need, then absolutely we need to improve on that. If you feel that you're receiving everything that you need to receive, then we're doing the job that we should be doing. So I think it depends on the information that we're providing. We'll always provide the information that we think is really important, and ask for that to be distributed effectively. Similarly to like if an inspection does happen, then we'll also write out to the people we support that fall under that registration to say, you've had a recent CQC inspection and this is what the outcome is. This is what the report tells us. And if we need to kind of make any improvements, we'll tell you what those improvements are going to be.
Are we expecting any changes on the horizon that we can share with our viewers?
Yes, so CQC, in terms of CQC or organisational? CQC?
CQC.
Okay, so CQC, so CQC are currently looking at their framework and how they are going to inspect. So at the moment, they work against quality statements. So what their quality statements are, Jess, is they are they basically say what we should do as an organisation to make sure that we are adhering to those quality statements. At the moment, there's 34 of those quality statements, and they're looking to reduce those significantly to around 26 was the last number that I heard. As yet, they're still going through consultation. So there's a consultation process that CQC are going through. So they've worked with a lot of different providers and got a lot of feedback. And they're working through that at the moment. So as soon as that gets finalised, then we'll share that out for everybody.
What is one thing people misunderstand about your job?
About my job? I think, obviously, for me and my team, because we are internal auditors, so we do go around to people's homes and kind of check that people all the paperwork is in place and all the documentation and the right things are in place. I think people think that we're probably there to judge them, and we're absolutely not there to do that. We're the critical friend, so rather that we would find something that might need to be improved as opposed to CQC finding out. So yeah, I think that's probably one thing that people have a misconception of our role, where actually we're just there to help because we all want the same thing.
If governance was a movie character, would it be the villain or the wise mentor?
It would be the wise mentor, because without governance, you can't have oversight and ensure that you're effectively supporting people and your staff team safely.
Do you see yourself as working for Lifeways or for the people using the service?
A bit of both. My driver is absolutely for the people that use the service. So I'm here to make sure that people receive good quality care and support, and that will always be my driver. But also, I work for Lifeways as an organisation to make sure that we are all working together as one, and it is one team approach, and that we're all here for the same collective, and that's to make sure the people are at the heart of everything that we do.
If you could give one piece of advice to teams about living governance, what would it be?
To always be true to yourself. We can only make sure governance is only effective if people are honest and transparent. If something's not going quite right, then say that it's not going quite right, because then we can all fix it and make it better. Without that, then there's a risk to people we support and staff teams if governance isn't used effectively.
Can you share a time where strong governance has helped prevent a major issue?
Yeah, so I think what we found as an organisation is there's been a huge reduction in accidents and incidents taking place, medication errors, the use of physical intervention where that's required. There's been a lot of reduction in that, and that comes from having that data set to review, to analyse, and to learn lessons. Because learning lessons from accidents, incidents, etc., is really, really important, and sharing those. So where things might not have quite gone so right or so well for us, we would review that, and then we would put measures in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And by doing so, it's reduced significantly a lot of accidents, incidents, and things like that.
If you could invent any new regulation or compliance process to help disabled people, what would that be?
I think in terms of compliance, I think we have quite a lot of compliance processes internally that may not be utilised all the time, but if they were, they would really help and support people. In terms of regulations, I honestly wish that the regulators would spend more time with people that maybe aren't able to verbalise how they feel. So obviously there's lots of different forms of communication. So where people are able to verbalise and give feedback, that's great, and that's captured. But I think sometimes the regulators miss the non-verbal cues, whereas if they spent some time getting to know somebody, they would then
exactly, because that's, sorry Cherianne,
no, you're absolutely fine, go on.
Because that's how you get to know a person, if you spend time with them, even if you're doing like what I term as a shadow shift.
Yeah.
You then get to know the person and get to spend time. You get to know their likes, their dislikes, their favourite activities, their favourite places to go. So yeah, that's, sorry Cherianne,
No, please don't apologise. No, because that's really important, and that's very, that's absolutely what I was trying to say in terms of, if the regulators spent a little bit more time with people that aren't able to verbally communicate, to get to know them, then they would not be reading a piece of paper about them.
Exactly, and that's the next thing that I'm going to go on to. How on earth, if you read somebody else's support plan, how on earth would you be able to take that information? You wouldn't, would you? You'd just be like, you just go into somewhere and you'd just be like, well, I've read your support plan, this is what you... No, ask the person, because, and that's something that really, really winds me up when people say like, I've read your support plan, and I'm like, well, no, because you're reading off paper, you need to get to know the person first.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really important. So, we have to have, a support plan. So we know that we have to have one just to kind of give an overview, but actually getting to know the person is very different to reading about them, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's really important to be able to understand a person wholly, and and getting to know what their likes and dislikes are, and how they might communicate if they're not able to communicate that verbally. So yeah, no, it's really important,
and that's how I like things to be done, because as I said before at the beginning of these questions, you don't know the person. If you don't know the person, yes, you can read the support plans, but if there's a word in there that you don't understand or you don't get straight away, ask the person.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, the person, the one person that you're doing your shadow shift with, they know themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know them.
No. See, everybody has a story, don't they, Jessie?
Exactly.
Everybody has a story, but actually only you're the only one that can truly tell what that means to you and what that's about. So yeah.
And I think, just to close it off, I think when you go into somebody else's flat, get to talk to them, and then they can verbalise how they feel about things, like, because you don't know, do you? You just walk in and you just think, well, all you see is a person, but behind that person is a really big personality.
Absolutely.
And you don't, just by looking at them and observing their body language, how they communicate with others, you don't know that.
No. Then you don't actually get to truly know the person, do
Exactly.
you? No, because you're right, there are some very big personalities out there, and that makes the role even more enjoyable. Meeting lots of different people is what really excites me about my job, because I get to meet so many lovely people on my travels around the organisation, and that's the best part.
Exactly. What do you love about most of what you do, Cherianne?
I hope that I support to affect change, and that's what I love.
That's what I strive for as well, because we need to be the change. Be the change that we want to see.
Absolutely.
That is something that I started off with doing, like wanting change for everything. Be the change that we want to see. Don't just assume that we need it. Be it. Just be in the moment with it.
Yeah, and that's really powerful, isn't it? It's a really powerful message to send to people, because I think people can try and make changes, but they don't actually know the impact of those change. We need to be able to make change together in order for it to work.
That's why I'm part of a group. I don't know whether I've said this before, but that's why I'm part of a group called the Together for Change group.
Okay.
Because personally, I want to see the change.
Yeah.
I live here and I'm the forefront of where I am, and I do desperately want to see the change.
Yeah, it's your life, isn't it?
Exactly.
Jessie?
And you don't. Sorry,
no,
Cherianne.
you go. No, you go. That's fine.
I've got verbal
That's
diarrhea.
right.
And you don't know that they want. You don't go into somebody and say, "You want a change, don't you? You need the change, don't you?"
Yeah.
You need them to like demonstrate it and say like, "I need to change. Something needs changing."
Yeah.
You don't assume that they want it, and you ask them first.
Yeah.
You say to them, "Do you want the change?"
Absolutely. And I think it's important to realise, and I think one of the things that I enjoy is realising that, or remembering and reminding people, should I say, that everybody's individual. So what one person wants doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for somebody else. And making sure that people are treated individually and not as a collective. Because I think sometimes we can fall into that trap, and I feel that I'm very privileged to be able to share people's lives with them, and that they welcome me and trust me enough to support them to make that change. And that's something that I really love about my job.
How do you see AI in data governance and reshaping regulatory space?
AI is very scary, but very it is going to be kind of the way of the world. I see it in two folds, really. So it'll be revolutionary in terms of identifying gaps in things, be that governance, so be that checks. So it'll pick up where checks haven't happened, but it'll also support in identifying gaps in core documentation. So, for example, if somebody who decides to utilise Lifeways as a service might have a diagnosis of epilepsy, say, so we can use AI to make sure that if that's what their diagnosis is, it's clearly detailed in their support plan, and they also have the right risk assessments and things in place. What AI doesn't do, and will never do, Jessie, is be person-centred and personal, because it can't, because it's not a person. So you'll always need to make sure that the information that AI might check is personalised and is about the individual, not about a piece of technology that's picking out certain things.
So, now I would like you to bust a myth for us. Is it true that risk assessments are only done to cover someone's back, or do they actually help us? What are your thoughts?
I can say it's categorically not true to cover people's backs, but they are there to help and support. So it's to reduce risk, to make sure that you're safe, that team members are safe, and that everybody knows what they should be doing to make sure that no harm comes to anybody.
So, Cherianne, now we're on to the quick fire round.
Okay.
In front of me, I've got a selection of cards. Would you mind picking a card from the pile for me?
Choices. No, I shall take this one, please.
Thank you. What is one piece of advice you would go back and tell your younger self?
Oh, just to ensure that and what piece of advice would I tell my younger self? To cherish each day, I think, and always be a good person, because somebody may not be having the best of days, and you might just be that shining light that they need.
The shoulder to cry on.
Absolutely,
really.
yes.
If you could be any sea animal, what would you be?
A starfish.
Favourite meal?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Favourite weather?
Autumn, so where it's not too warm but not too cold.
Favourite Disney character?
Goofy.
Do you like social media?
No, I don't. I don't like social media. I'm not on any social media platforms. And no, it's not my favourite thing in the world.
Guilty pleasure?
Oh, a guilty pleasure. Probably eating a little bit of chocolate before I go to bed.
Favourite colour?
Purple.
Early bird or night owl?
I'm an early bird, definitely an early bird. I also like to go to bed early too, so definitely an early bird.
I'm different. I'm totally different to
Oh,
that as well, because I like to go to bed not late,
yeah.
but just later than
Yeah.
what I'd normally go to bed. Favourite music?
Favourite music? Oh, I like a plethora of music really, but I would probably say old school R&B is my favourite.
Next up is our collaborative questions set by the previous podcast guest. Someone's told me you have a guilty pleasure for shopping, especially for dresses. What would you like to share more about your favourite shop?
Um, I do have quite a guilty pleasure when it comes to shopping. Yeah. So I enjoy going shopping, but one of the places that I really like to go is a place called Cheshire Oaks. Now it's in the northwest, and I'm probably going to offend quite a few people because I don't actually. It's sort of Wirral sort of area, I think, and it's an array of designer outlet shops. So I go there a few times a year and have to go back to the car about 5 or 6 times to put bags in because I can't carry them, or more so my husband can't carry them.
You want to know a bit of advice?
Oh, please.
Don't buy as much at shopping.
Okay.
Just try and only buy like 2 bags.
Okay.
I know it might be hard, but I only buy like 2 bags and buy things that you think you'd feel comfortable in carrying back to the car.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try that for next time I go shopping, just to limit it to a couple of bags.
If you weren't heavily involved in regulations and governance, what would be the next best thing?
I think it would be back in direct support, if I'm honest. So that, and because that would always be the thing that I enjoy doing, the thing that I always enjoyed doing. And it's probably why I do what I do now, because I try and affect change in a different way, while still being able to go and visit and see people. So yeah, I think I would go back into direct support.
Now, Cherianne, on to our collaboration story. We would love for you to share a story where working together has changed someone's life.
Okay, that's a very big question. So there's been lots of instances over my working career, but I think one of the things that I will always take sort of some comfort in is when I was an auditor, and I visited lots of different people just to find out about them, speak to them. One of the things that they really, really enjoyed doing was horse riding, and they loved horse riding.
That's my sorry, Cherianne.
No, don't apologise.
That's my favourite thing.
Is
I
it?
actually did. Sorry, I know this
No.
is about you.
No,
It's a collaboration.
I enjoy hearing it.
But I actually did when I was at school. I actually took part in horse riding sessions.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
I did. I actually passed my horse care award.
That's really good.
Because I did it for the riding for the disabled.
Lovely.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. And so this person also enjoyed horse riding, but circumstances had changed where they couldn't get out to horse riding as much anymore, and it was really sad because it was something that they really, really enjoyed doing. So I, obviously hearing that, worked then with the manager. So I spoke to the manager about why and what we could do. We then got in contact with various different organisations that could perhaps support again. And when I next went to visit, they were going horse riding twice a week. So I think that was probably a positive story.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
We have loved having you on the podcast today, Cherianne. To finish off, can you please share one practical thing listeners can do to help create positive change?
Thank you very much for having me, Jessie. It's been absolutely lovely.
It's a pleasure.
One of the things that people do to make a positive change is listen. But not only listen to people, actually act on what people are saying. Because it's okay listening to what people are saying and people ensuring that people have a voice. The actual change and affecting change is when you act on what people are saying to make that positive change to their lives.
I have been Jessie. This has been my second Let's Collaborate podcast. I would like to say a massive thank you to Cherianne for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.